Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Miss Janelle and this is from PSLE Mathematics Hub. Today we're going to share with you 5 major tips that students will actually want to know before they enter the exam hall. Because I know that there's a lot of students that they can do potentially much better than what they actually achieve in the exam paper result, because normally on normal circumstances they perform pretty well, but during exam maybe they start to panic, they start to get anxious, and then they are not too sure what questions to start with, and then they just not in the usual mood that they used to be as compared to a normal day whereby they can easily score up to 90-80% for a mathematics paper with much lesser careless mistakes and stuff. But then in actual exam they have this fear, they have this phobia for exam, and then suddenly they are not scoring as well in all the major exams or the small tests as compared to their actual potential. So this video, if you do have this problem or your child do have this problem, this is the right video that you should be watching on. I urge all the parents and children that actually are going for exam, or show this to your child before they go to exam, so that it will actually help them to know some tips and what to actually do during the exam to help them to score that marks that they used to get, or a higher marks that what they used to get. So we are going to go through 5 major tips, and I will give some bonus tips on how to actually reduce careless mistakes as well at the end of the video. So please make sure that you follow on for the whole video. I'm going to start with tip number 1. So number 1, what I will actually want to suggest is that, have you ever wondered like which question is the correct question that your child should actually start doing the paper with? I know there's many people, there's people saying that like you should actually start with the most easiest question so that you can grab as many marks as possible for your paper. So you don't give up on the marks that you actually can get correct. That's not wrong. And there's also another saying that, oh, you should actually do the hardest question first before you move on to the easier question, so that maybe you have more time to think of the question. Well, all the debates may go on which question to actually start with, but there's actually scientific experiment done by the Oxfords, and also there's also scientific experiment and done by and books written regarding how do our brain actually function to do better for certain things. And then there's a book called A Mind for Numbers. It's by a mathematician. Her name is called Barbara Oatley. So the book itself actually say that our brain function in 2 ways. So it can function in a flashlight way, and then there's 2 modes. She called it the focus mode number 1, and then second one is called the diffuse mode. So what does it actually means? So for focus mode, right, if you look at the image here, so you can see that for focus mode, we can see that there is 2 grammatic error. So first thing we see is that the 2 underlying grammatic error if you actually focus on reading the sentence itself. But if you actually diffuse yourself away, meaning like you reread it a second time, or you pause for a while and then you read it again after maybe a short while, like 1 or 2 minutes or 1 or 2 seconds later, you will actually realize that, oh, there's a third mistake, which is the sentence do not only have 2 mistakes. The sentence have a third mistake by saying that the sentence has 3 mistakes, whereby it only has 2 mistakes. So that kind of mistake, that kind of error will only be spotted or after our brain enters into the diffuse mode. So how does this actually help us into how we should actually start the paper? So what I want to say is that you actually need to start from the hardest question. Not saying that you should try to crack your brain spending like 10 minutes on the hardest question, hoping that you can actually solve it, and then you result in you to have not enough time to continue with other questions. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that we have to skim through the whole paper first. Once you get your exam paper, start looking through some of the question, like flip through first. Like maybe spend like 2 or 3 minutes flipping through some of the harder 4-5 marks questions, like maybe 1 or 2 of them that you think that is potentially not so easy. And then after that, you don't do it, you try to understand it, and then you move back to the easier question, which is like the MCQ or the 2 marks question for your paper 2 itself. So that we call this method the hard start jump to easy. So this will actually help your brain to actually have a rough idea of the question, and then allow our powerful brain to able to process all the harder question in the back of the brain. And then while we actually solve a few easier question, your brain actually is functioning at the background, and it will actually have a subconscious of how to actually do a bit better, and then you will be a bit more calm after you do a few easier questions that actually assure you that, oh, I can do it. So when you go back to the harder question, it may not look so scary anymore. It will not be so strange. It will not be so much of a stranger to you, and it's easier to attempt the question. The second tip that I will also want to share is that if you read the long and difficult questions, especially for the problem sum, I would suggest you to read and then pause and then read the question again, so that you will be able to spot the keywords inside it. So the first time when you read it, just try to understand. Just focus on reading it and understanding the question. Do not note down anything. Do not start doing it, because I do know that a lot of students will jump into it. Yeah, because they are scared that they have not enough time, which some students really do have the problem. But it will be even worse if you jump straight into the question without understanding what they are talking about. You might just plug numbers from the question itself and start to plus, minus, time, divide without understanding what the question is actually giving you. Especially for long 4-5 marks questions, you want to understand and then plug the hint from the question, rather than just plug the numbers and do whatever you want with the number without going according to the question. And it would be worse if you do until halfway and you realize that you're going against the question and you're not solving for what the question actually wants, and you start to panic, and then you start to see students cancelling out the questions and stuff, which is what we don't want to see. So I will see that you have to read and then you pause, and then the next time when you start reading again the second time, then you start to underline or note down the important points that is given. Let's say they say that there's 120 oranges, and then there's like 4-5 of it being eaten by someone, and then there's another 20 of it being given away to someone, and in the end something happened. For questions like this kind, the before after or the many changes kind, you want to note down every one of them, like the starting, and then you can arrow down as per what I do. If you do follow my previous other video, then you actually see that, oh, okay, there's a flow. If I follow through the flow, I might be able to get some step out, even if I might not be able to solve for the entire question. So that is how read and pause help your child to earn some points and to start the question correctly, so that they do not panic as well, and they will be able to hopefully finish the question. Because if you start correctly, it will not go so scary. Like the numbers will make more sense, and then you will give them more confidence to attempt the next question as well, if they actually solve the question in a more technical way, that the answer seems to be more correct and they feel good about it. So they will be more confident to attempt the next following question, and they could do better. And the third tips that I want to share today is that we could also practice visualization. What do I mean by visualization? If you look at the next few diagram, you see that let's say there's a number pattern kind of thing. You see like figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, there's different kind of arrangement for the figure. So some students, they are not able to visualize how the thing actually works. So if they actually draw it out and then see it better, you can see that there's different way to actually rearrange the cubes, as you can see in the diagram. Or some students work better with color. You can color code it with highlighter, but I suggest that if you are bringing in highlighter to do angle questions or to do area question to help yourself to see the different figure and stuff, bring a erasable highlighter so that if you highlight anything wrongly, you want to adjust it, you still can erase it off. Because once you highlight on it and then it get messy, it might result in you to not able to continue the question. It will be too complicated for you to understand what you just did. Yeah, so help yourself by highlighting, color coding, or help yourself by redrawing a certain part of it out. Or for other kind of question, like model, as you can see on the next diagram, it will help you to actually be able to visualize that how do we cut the remainder out, and then how does it go from the point 1 to the second point and third point. Some things it's not really possible for you to think of it all in your mind, especially during exam whereby you are in a rush of time. You increase your possibility of making careless mistake, and if you note them down step by step, it reduces careless and it make you feel more confident. It's more concrete that you know what you are doing, so you're not just plucking numbers from the air, and the teacher can see exactly what you are doing, and we will give marks when we see things that we can give marks, instead of doing everything in your head whereby we do not know what's happening in your head. The marker will not be able to give you marks even if your idea is there, but you're starting, we do not see it, you jump a few steps and then finally you make some careless, the marks will be gone. And the fourth thing that I will actually want you all to actually know is that how to check, because a lot of students, they tell me say that they check their word in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's definitely not the right way to do it. But then some of them, what they do, what they share with me is that when they check, they flip through the paper. So flipping through and ensuring that every question is answered is how they check the paper, which I think is I don't think that's the right way to actually check a paper, right? So what we will actually want to share, what I want to share today is that our brain is very special. It functions in a very wonderful way that it actually will remember what we just did. Yeah, like what just now we say about the different techniques. It's also by scientific experiment that is learned when I actually go through courses, yeah, to actually help my students improve their mathematics. So in the course, they actually told us say that you will remember what you just do, which is actually a clear fact. Like no matter how good or how bad you are at maths, your brain will remember what you just did. So if you flip through, subconsciously your brain already tell you just did this and then it is correct. So the idea of checking is not to check in sequence. For example, you started from question 1, you go to question 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you check that time, you don't go as the same sequence. You could actually just do in a way that, let's say you end in the last question. So you start from section C, check the section C first, maybe from backwards, like from the last question you check backwards to the first question of the problem sum, and then section B you check from the last question to the first question. Instead of flipping from question 1 to question 10, you go from 10 to 1. It will jumble up your brain function in a way that you would allow you to be able to focus better on checking what you are doing, than to subconsciously already know what you did to that question, and then you know that the next question you did this as well, and then you will not check properly. So those above are the main tips that I would actually want to share with you all today. I hope it is a useful tips for you all, and I hope that regardless what happened, the last bonus tip that I want to share is that do not give up. Do not give up too early. Do not skip any question. Like what I say, whatever that you write inside the exam paper, marks will be given if we find relevant points in it. So if you give up too early, you will have a lot of blank question, and then you might panic as well. because you feel that you cannot do a lot of questions, and then some students even start calculating their own marks during the exam because they have too much time left and stuff. So my suggestion is don't land yourself in that state. If you have the time, remember to go back to each and every of your question to retry them. If you are the very forgetful kind of student, please circle every question that you blank or you did halfway. That's tip number 1. So you check back and please ensure, let me repeat again, do not skip any question, do not give up on any question. Attempt every single question, even if you cannot solve till the end, marks will be given. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is please try your best to write your handwriting in an orderly manner, preferably from left to right. Do not write from left and then go to right and then go back to left and then go back to right, or you write on top and then you write at the bottom, then you go to the center. Please organize your work. Try to be as organized as possible so that we can give you marks, so that we can understand your thought process, where does it go. Even if you are the not very organized kind of student, if you want to go from one point here to another point here, and then you go back here and write the next step over here, what I can suggest is maybe you should draw arrow, but not to the point that you make it too messy about your whole paper become like a spider web. We do not want that to happen. Please do not do that, but try to indicate. I think arrow is not a very good idea. Maybe you can write numbering, like step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, and then circle your numbering so that the teacher can focus on where is your numbering and where is your actual step happening. Those are for students that cannot write neatly. If not, just follow from left to right. Organize it properly so teacher can give you any relevant marks that we can find. Remember, teachers are not out there to try to minus your marks and make you fail your PSLE, your SA1 or SA2. We are here to help you. We want you to pass. So you must help yourself and help us do our work easier so we can give you the marks that you deserve. Do not panic. Try to do your best. Believe in yourself. During exam, cannot have any negativity. You have to try to believe that you can do it, and even if you don't do well for one exam, please do not beat yourself upside down for it. Believe in yourself, try again, and never give up. So you just repeat the same thing by deep practicing. When we say deep practicing means you repeat the same question more. Like even Albert Einstein, he said that he is not smarter, but he stay on a question longer. So maybe some people can get a question in 5 minutes. Some people can get it in 1 minute. It's not shameful if you stay on the question for 30 minutes or even like for a week. But as long as you don't give up on the question will not give up on you. Eventually you will conquer the question, and I believe that everyone is smart in their own way. As long as you don't give up and you continue doing it, one day you will be able to do it. And then, of course, not telling you that you stay on one question in exam, but when you are doing your deep practicing, when you're practicing for exam question, try to not give up on the question. Meaning like if you do this question you cannot do, doesn't mean you throw it aside and then forever don't want to see it again. It's not the way. You can move on to some other question and then do other practicing. Maybe you're not so good with fractions, you can move on to decimals first, you do your ratio, and then when you are a bit more relaxed, when your brain is more in a diffuse mode, you go back and then look at the weaker question, weaker topic that you have problem, do a bit by a bit, and then circle those questions that you once have problem so that you know which one to go back to them when you have time. So when you go back to them and try them, the first time cannot, you try a second time. You try until you can finally get it. Get help if you really need. Get a tutor, get help from a school teacher, get help from parents. Once you actually get a bit more of it, practice more of the kind, you eventually get it. Maths is about practicing and not giving up. As long as you don't give up on the subject, it will never give up on you. I believe everyone is a genius in their own way, as long as they are disciplined enough and they are willing to work hard. I hope this video will be useful to y'all and it's positive enough to help y'all. I really hope that everyone is actually prepared for their PSLE and hope everyone will do well for their this year PSLE despite the COVID situation. 加油! And then I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for joining us for the full video today. If you do not wish to miss out on our next upcoming mathematics video, please click on the bottom button to subscribe to our channel and click on to the notification button next to it. We hope that you have learned a brand new kind of methods to actually solve your next 4 and 5 marks question that could be coming on your next exam. If you want to learn more of such techniques, please follow us on Facebook as well. Our Facebook page is PSLE Mathematics Hub. You can actually upload questions that you might need us to help you as well. We welcome you to upload questions. We will pick 3 or 5 questions per week to go through on YouTube here. We have upcoming free webinars and free tutorials as well. Please follow us on PSLE Mathematics Hub. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.